So welcome to this talk, this explanation about this process called compassionate response. I'm so thrilled to be joining you and so grateful to John and Saz and onlinevents.co.uk for hosting us today. And grateful to you for coming and being part of our energy field and part of this experience. I'd like to begin by just setting our intention that this is an exploration for growth and development, that we're not here to fix anybody. We're just here to explore and to understand ourselves and our awareness better so that we can be more available to respond in a positive, life-affirming way to the challenges and opportunities in our lives. So that was a lot of words. Whatever your equivalent is, let's just take a moment, take a deep breath in, close your eyes, and set your intention for our time together today. Thanks. So compassionate response is a 4-step process. And John, I don't know if you or Saz could just post these steps as I'm saying them, or if you have a slide, or if we're not going to have that, just whatever you can do to support what I'm saying, do your thing. Thanks. I was asked by my intuition, my higher guidance, my connection with spirit, to teach a year-long class called Compassionate Response, which we just wrapped up. It went through March of 2018. And I had about a dozen colleagues in that class who are healers and therapists and body workers and artists and meditators of various stripes. And we really came into it with an open mind and no idea what it would be content-wise, what it would be for us process-wise. And what it ended up being after a year of doing a monthly meeting and practice homework assignments in between is what I'm going to give you now. So you're getting the accelerated, condensed version of this. And I'll say that it really is something that needs to be unpacked and experienced. So my hope and intention for this discourse, this lecture, is to excite you, help you be able to take the next step in unpacking this practice for yourself, whether you're a person who's dealing with a history of trauma in your own life or in your family constellation or in the life of someone that you love or their family constellation, or whether you're a healer, an artist, a therapist who is in some way actively working with people who have experienced trauma. We've tried it. We've road tested this process in both kinds of settings, and it works. So as a practical person, I like stuff that works. I like knowing I can count on something when I need it. So I offer this to you in the hope and spirit that it can help you when you need it. Even a tiny piece of it might be helpful. So it is being recorded. You don't have to worry about catching every single nuance, every single detail, but there may be something that excites your curiosity or that jumps out at you. One thing that you take away, that's enough, if that's okay, if it's useful. So my prayer is that this is useful for you. Compassion is not something we're going to spend a lot of time defining. I think everybody has their own kind of working definition of what it is. For me, I really like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibetan Buddhism, and the way he approaches compassion. I like Jesus, the way he approached compassion. I like all kinds of different examples in my life. There was a Native American teacher called Sun Bear who was a great inspiration for me for compassion. There was a woman in my childhood named Jimmy who was a living embodiment for me of compassion. Compassion is being transmitted to us at so many different levels by so many different people. And I also consider compassion to be a virtue, like a positive aspect of being human in a kind of a classical way, a virtue. You can also consider it as an energy, as a frequency, depending on at what level you want to address this. I will be using energy talk because I'm an energy worker at various times. So I'll be encouraging you to go inside to the part of you that feels energy, that sees energy, that hears energy. However you sense with your inner senses, that's great. You don't have to be anything other than what you are. Use the senses that you have for all these exercises when we get to that part of the exercise play in the workshop that will follow this talk. And you may have energy experiences as I'm speaking to you. That's okay. That's normal and natural and just a part of opening up because of the intention that you set with the universe or God or however you think of those things as your path. So we're on that path together as fellow travelers, and we're not in Kansas, we're moving into Oz now. We're going to the place of energy where things change, things are dynamic, things are not static or frozen or stuck, because life is a part of us and we're a part of life. So if you walk into a forest, there's never nothing happening. There are birds flying or bees buzzing, plants are reaching up for the sun, trees are putting their roots down. There's movement, there's life all around us and within us. The same is happening in our physical bodies, in our cells, in our organs. The same is happening in our emotions. Even though there might be something that's been stuck our whole lives, there's other stuff that isn't stuck. We get angry or we feel happy about something more superficial while the deep stuff in the shadows stays hidden. Our thoughts are fluid and part of that web of life. We might have very strong beliefs that are sort of fixed, but then we might be capable of surprise or curiosity. And we call that fluidity in our thoughts, in our mental body. So this process of compassionate response is meant to bring in spiritual energy or an opening to spiritual energy, the intelligence of life, the intelligence of God, the intelligence of the universe that we're a part of into those aspects of our being, our physical, emotional, mental being, through our own spiritual bodies, through our own connection to the higher power, however you do that. And the seat of that connection in my tradition, Rose Light, my teaching space, is the heart. So when I say heart, I don't necessarily mean ba-boom, 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 the muscle that's beating. I mean the heart at whatever level you know it. In the chakra system, there's a heart chakra on your midline that runs up and down your body. And in other systems of energy, that's a socket that lots of different plugs plug into, because your heart is one of the strongest, most amazing, most powerful things about you as a human being. I believe, in my experience, I experience that this is where God comes through us. This is where love originates and comes through us. This is where a mother smiling at her child, if you have the ability to sense energy, you'll feel this outpouring coming from that place. For those of us who are tangible, it's like waves coming through us. So we're going to take that God-given capacity that you have and exercise it a little bit and bring that facility to something that isn't flowing, that is stuck. And trauma, again, lots of definitions of trauma. I'm sure we've had lots of them in the wonderful presenters who were in this conference earlier today. Trauma is a place where things get stuck. There's a famous book by a guy named Peter Levine called Waking the Tiger, and then he changed the name on the second edition. But it's about how we hold that trauma in our bodies, in our minds, in our emotions. And it's like a pattern that's rigid and overlays or traps sediment, overlays our experiences, or it's a cage that we can't see our way out of. So whenever you're carrying any baggage from the past of trauma, whenever you have any wound of any kind that you want to heal, any sickness that you want to heal, any imbalance or dis-ease, you have the option, as of now, after today, of choosing a compassionate response to it. That's different from I want it gone, or I judge myself for having this, or I judge the person who caused me to have this, or, you know, any of the judgment, any of the blame, any of the shame, any of the terror, the fear. Those things can all exist within you as a vessel. You don't have to get rid of any of it. You're fine just as you are. But in addition, you're going to take a little bit of your awareness and place it in this place called compassionate response. And the wonderful thing about this is it's 4 easy steps, and all you have to do is follow the steps. It's especially useful when you're freaked out, or when somebody who's with you is freaked out. Those of you who are professionals in helping professions, you probably know about something called parallel process, which is where you take on unconsciously the unprocessed material of your client. And those of us who are working with people who have trauma are subject to a lot of parallel process, where we are helping them digest. We're like another digestive organ. So this compassionate process, this compassionate response 4-step process is something you can bring into your therapy room or your healing room with you. So the 4 steps are very simple. I'm going to say them very slowly. Number 1, I give myself permission to feel compassion. Oh, there we go. Number 2, I notice my distance from the suffering. Number 3, I notice what draws my attention. Number 4, I notice what is happening in my heart as energy. Now, let's just break those down a little bit, and we'll do more of a breakdown in the workshop. I'll go the high points here, the essentials, okay? You can spend as long as you want on any step. I strongly suggest you start with step 1. But if you're immediately drawn into step 4, start there. You can play like a jazz musician. If each of these is an instrument and we're making music, you can switch from the flute to the drums, to the guitar, to the piano. Each of these steps is a whole instrument unto itself. So to give you an example, sometimes it takes me 30 seconds to give myself permission to feel compassionate, where I really feel like click, yeah, I'm permitting myself now to do that. And you know, sometimes it takes me 45 minutes to give myself permission to feel compassionate. And it's a great victory if I can get to the permission, okay? If I'm really freaking out, or if I'm really triggered by somebody else freaking out. Maybe I have like a spew of filthy, nasty thoughts come up in me because I'm processing their stuff and I'm so connected. Okay, I just keep coming back. It's like an alignment, lining things up. I give myself permission to be compassionate. Now you'll notice there's 2 things here, feel and be. Use whatever one works for you. Okay, whatever feels more comfortable for you in your skin. Number 2, I notice my distance from the suffering. There's a great Buddhist thing where they talk about attachment and aversion. And that's this, okay? Attachment, I can't let go. Like I'm all enmeshed, I'm all entangled in it, right? Maybe I'm attached to my suffering. Maybe I'm so woven into suffering and it's so woven into me, I can't even imagine not being in it. So you're not trying with step number 2 to get unenmeshed, sorry. You're just noticing, whoa, look at that. I'm enmeshed, okay? Or I'm out of here. I can't be with this. I can't stand it. I can't even stand to look at it. Aversion, right? I want to be far, far away from the suffering. Or I've given myself distance from this suffering. I've taken care of myself. I've made a boundary, maybe with a toxic relationship in my life or a trauma producer in my life. I'm just noticing. Oh, look at that. I made a boundary. Oh, look at that. I made the distance. And so you could have some internal experience, like seeing yourself like a tiny you sitting far away from this roaring fire, or you could have dreamlike sequences when you do this step, or it could be very prosaic. Just like, okay, I really am not up for being anywhere near that. I notice I need some distance from that suffering. That's all. That's step number 2. You just noticing, being curious, noticing. Step number 3, I notice what draws my attention. The key words here are draws. So something is beckoning me. Something is nudging me. Something is attracting me. Something is drawing me in. It could be a tiny detail like, wow, she had a lipstick on that was really bright red when I saw her. Or, oh, I'm having a strange sensation in my right shoulder right now. Or, oh, wow, I see that that person is also in pain. It could be any kind of detail. It could be that you space out and you're thinking about clouds. That's what's drawing your attention, clouds. Again, no praise, no blame, just notice what draws your attention. And when you're ready to be done with step 3, you just set that aside. Go on to step 4. I notice what is happening in my heart as energy. So the heart center in your body is, easiest way to think of it is in your sternum, which is your breastbone, right between your breasts, whether you're a man or a woman. And there's a little tiny indentation there. That's an acupuncture or an acupressure point called conception vessel 17. It's a tiny dip. And it just is the most natural thing in the world if you take your finger, either of your fingers, any of your fingers, and feel that little dip in your breastbone. That's a good spot to anchor your sense of your heart as an energy center, sort of in the middle of your chest, okay? For some of us who are visual, if we close our eyes, we'll see something there, like a flower, like a lotus, or like a spinning wheel. For some of us who are kinesthetic, we'll have a warmth there, okay? So what can be happening in your heart as energy? Here are some examples of how I perceive my heart as energy. Closed, like a fist. Defended, behind lots of layers of walls. Brittle, dark, obscured, like someone wearing a veil over the face of my heart. That's on a bad day, okay? On a good day, like the sun is out in my chest, as if it wants to help all the flowers grow, as if it loves you and is of its own volition and not because of my head or a sense of duty or for any reason other than that you're alive and part of that web of life. It's recognizing you, and energy is coming from it to you, sometimes in waves. Or to myself as a part of life, it's shining on me or giving me waves. And that's actually energy that I can use. Now, I want to caution you that this isn't a linear thing. So you might think, okay, I'm going to be great at this. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, bada bing, bada boom, and I'm going to get a heart with waves and sunshine. It doesn't work like that. And it doesn't have to work like that. If you can move even one small piece of what's helping you stay stuck and shift that piece of energy or your awareness into something that's moving or that even has the potential or the possibility to move, that's a great work. You can pat yourself on the back. You can say, I've done good work today. On behalf of my own growth, on behalf of my family, because everyone in my family is connected to me and the state of my energy, my ancestors, the descendants who are as yet unborn, on behalf of my profession, my tribe, my country, my species. I'm doing good work on behalf of all of them, and I'm doing what's right in front of me to do. I'm taking care of what's mine to take care of. My timer's going off. So that seems like a good space to end the 20 minutes, since it's been 20 minutes. And that's a good introduction. I'll say that if you want more information about this practice and you want to see, as we develop them, the supportive materials to support your compassionate response practice, visit my website, www.roselight.com, ROSELIGHT.com, and visit John's library and learn about other compassion practices from the trauma conference today, because we're all beings of compassion. No one religion or tradition has a corner on it. It's part of our divinity and our humanity. And so let's close this lecture now with a formal closing and take a moment to thank and acknowledge ourselves and each other, all those who are here today in the chat room, all those who will join us through time in this practice, all those who, wherever they are in the world, may be struggling and need this tool. Let's send out a wave of thanks and acknowledgement, holding a vision that they find it, they find their way, that a light opens for them, and a path, a golden path, opens before them, clear and easy, a roadway they can move down with smoothness and support. Thanking and acknowledging ourselves and each other as human beings of light who are helping to make this possible. And so it is. Thanks.
Thank you, Amy, for that introduction. Really appreciate it. Yeah. Oh, that feels like a lovely place to begin to move into the workshop space. Yeah, with just those ideas and our bodies in this place. So yeah, thank you. So for those who are watching in the library, I'm just going to pause the recording because I guess the workshop's not going to be recorded. So we'll say goodbye to everyone who's been watching in the library. And yeah, I'll just do that now.